What's up, y'all? Kyle Hamilton here. I want to give a quick shout out to Lucas, Connor, and Ryan in the Week Zero podcast.
Nobody open, running out of time, finally throws, and it is gone! Touchdown, Daryl Roberts! Hit backwards, up in the air, it's on the ground, it is down, it is over, and the Irish have knocked off number one Clemson. Herbert's got it. Stiff arm again. Quarterback in the clear. Inside the 10. A hat-trick of touchdown from Justin Herbert.
Why is it still running? I was hearing some weird extra sound there for a second, so I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on there. That was weird. But what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Week Zero podcast, coming to you live from the basement in Millersville, Maryland. I am your host, Connor Funeral Wake Doherty. I think that was pretty clever. To my left is Ryan, Kansas head coach, voted Texas, Cape Texas at number one, or that first overall vote. And below us is El Mario. We should just call you that, just EL Mario, just like.
El
Here we
Mario.
go. Just
El Mario.
El Mario. There we go. Changed it. El Mario. So, but yeah. So I think it was something we didn't talk about briefly, but you probably saw, guys, the beginning Kyle Hamilton from Ryan's Notre Dame and now on my Ravens giving us a shout out. Lucas, was that cameo that you used to get him?
Yeah, it was. He was surprisingly not too expensive, and I'm glad that I got it now because after his first preseason game, he looked pretty freaking good. So I'm glad that we got it now because it might start jumping up once the season starts.
I think it's safe to say that that video of him getting torched by an undrafted free agent wide receiver could just be burned now. I'm pretty sure after one preseason.
I mean,
yeah, he
it's
did
funny.
He did really well.
The one play that stuck with me wasn't the fun workout because he just jumped on the ball. I think the play that stuck with me most was there was a play. I can't remember exactly when, but Titans are like inside the red zone, and Willis starts to scramble, and Hamilton is he's the deep safety. He's all the way in the back, pretty much in the back of the end zone to start the play. He runs from the back of the end zone and runs parallel with Willis and knocks him out of bounds about 5 yards short. He just had such crazy good closing speed on that. Like if you ever see the play of Hamilton getting the interception against, I think it's Florida State, where he goes nearly sideline to sideline for an interception. He just has really good closing speed. It's ridiculous. So good to see that. But
I think that's going to be a fun battle.
Oh,
okay, watching baseball. I think that's going to be a good battle over the years between Malik Willis and Kyle Hamilton. Because obviously Baltimore and Tennessee have a pretty big rivalry already. So between
I don't know why,
two guys, it'll be
just watching that game. Like, because I watched I was switching between the New York Giants Patriots game and that game. Willis impressed me with his legs and his arm strength, but like that was the thing that was with him coming out of college is his accuracy at times. His accuracy wasn't the best at times during the game. He kind of reminds me of Lamar Jackson, like kind of coming out of college, like not as highly touted as Lamar, but just like that one play where he evaded like 3 sacks.
He evaded Hamilton off on a blitz.
Yeah,
Hamilton couldn't contain him, and he ran and he got the touchdown.
Yeah, so but we got a puppers on the street.
Yeah, we got a pupper. I don't know how he got downstairs, but he's down here with me. I really don't know how he got down here. And Lucas has decided to disappear his face, but glad to see that. I'm glad to see Josh is here. He thought you died, bro. Yeah, he wasn't here, but he's back. Josh is back. So today, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to just with the coaches poll, which actually let's have that run in. Here's the banner. So the coaches poll came out a couple of days ago. The believe is the AP poll will probably be coming out pretty soon, within maybe the next week or so. So what we decided to do is we would each give our own personal top 25. Yep, here's the proper coaches poll, and we have the ticker at the bottom as well. So this is so we can compare and contrast. I will fully admit I really didn't make that many changes from the coaches poll. I made a few. Really just moved a bunch. Really, it's more just moved a lot of teams a little down and stuff, but that was about it. So, well, since Lucas isn't here, would you like to go first, Ryan? Or I guess we should open up actually first with what we think on the coaches poll itself first, and then we'll go into our own.
So the first three I think are kind of interchangeable. I think that's right. Once you get past there, I think it's kind of tricky. I can tell you right now there are a few things that I can point out that I don't like. USC at 15, Texas at 18. Two programs.
With Texas having that one,
yes.
number.
Texas went 5-7 last year, didn't make a bowl game, and lost to the worst team in the Big 12 in Kansas. And then a USC team that went 4-8 and didn't even come close to sniffing a bowl game. And they're all evidently 15. You can say that's just, you can kind of chalk it up to, oh, well, it's USC and Texas. I'm pretty sure the coaches poll has those two teams ranked every year. But
There's very few times I can ever think that Texas or one of those teams was never at least somewhat ranked.
The main thing about the both of them, though, is, yeah, Texas is getting a bunch of recruits. They got a star transfer quarterback. We'll see what Quinn Ewers can do. He hasn't played a college football game yet. So let's calm down on Quinn.
Oh, yeah, Quinn.
I don't think he starts.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well, I mean, who's their
But
quarterback?
at the same
Hudson
time, Hudson Card is still a really good quarterback. He just he was a freshman last year, was he not? I mean, he got thrown in the fire. He was a highly
touted recruit himself.
Yeah, he just got thrown in the fire on a team that, obviously gets so much crazy praise at the beginning of every single season, no matter what. And I think he got outplayed by was it Casey Thompson?
Casey Thompson, yeah.
Yeah, he got outplayed by him a tad bit, but I think Hudson Card, I think he's a little bit older now, and he's going to be able to. I don't know who's going to start. I don't know how their spring game went, but I kind of piggybacking off of that, I do think that they did get a lot of guys. I mean, it's hard to leave Texas out of this, and I completely interrupted you, Ryan, but it is hard to leave Texas out of this. But when you look at USC, they're not even the slightest bit close to the team they were last year. They're literally Oklahoma 2.0 from the season before.
The only thing that I would say, the only counterpoint, this is my issue. I don't have an issue with having USC ranked. That's not what I'm saying. To me, top 15 is a stretch. I think you have to take into account what they did last year, as they do with every rankings. And also, you got Caleb Williams. You got Jordan Addison. You got Travis Dye. That's all good and fun. But what's going to happen on the defensive side of the ball? That defense was atrocious last year. The offensive
line, did they get a bunch
of
transfers and
not defensively. Not defensively.
Yeah.
And the offensive line was the worst in the Pac-12. And it still is. I mean, you could have Caleb Williams, but who's going to protect him? I mean, that O-line was terrible. And
I don't know that in college football you need the greatest O-line in the world. I think if they even have a mediocre one, I think they'll be fine. But then it's not only Addison, it's not just Travis Dye, but they also got Brendan Rice, who was by far Colorado's best player last year. I think Broussard could maybe be in that argument, but Brendan Rice is super good. I mean, and then Lincoln Riley obviously is the best coach they've had since Pete Carroll. So I think they deserve that 15 spot. You can't base USC off of what they did last year, because they are a completely different team. It's almost just a different school.
But what about the defense, though, Lucas? I mean, you're an Oregon fan, so you got to see USC.
I mean, They were young. They're going to have a better D line this next year. A little bit of an older D line.
I think Josh is exactly right. And Lucas is kind of on the same point. It's like all the changes and all the people that have come in, you can't really hold them. They're the one exception to the rule, pretty much.
I just look at they had Keaton Slovis. They've had Jackson Dart. They've had
Jackson Dart was good for a game. I remember he was my star of the week or whatever we call it. I've already forgotten what we call him.
They've had 3 quarterbacks that are supposed to be really good, maybe not as good as Caleb Williams. And I have a hard time believing. Maybe it's 15. That might be fair, but I don't believe the whole playoff talk. I think they're a year away from that. I just think that there are too many holes that you can't just fill with getting a bunch of offensive talent, skill position wise, because games in college football aren't just won because you have good receivers. You have to have some sort of offensive line, and you have to have some sort of defense. No team that has had, I think, below a top 30 defense has ever won a national title in the college football playoff era. So, I mean, you got to look at that too.
I mean, I totally get that, but let's look at the team that Lincoln Riley left, Oklahoma. Do you think? I feel like you could fully make the argument, and I'd totally be okay if both Baylor and Oklahoma State were above them. Like if Oklahoma was like 11, because I don't think Oklahoma has brought in enough to replace what they lost. Often, Brent Venables, we have no idea what to expect. I mean, he's going to be more defensive coach. I mean, that's what he is. So we have no idea. But we have no idea what the offense is going to look like. And losing both Caleb Williams and Spencer Rattler, we just don't know what the offense is going to look like. I think they're also too high. I'd be fine putting – and plus Baylor and Oklahoma State both, I think, beat them in the regular season. So I would probably put them over Oklahoma right now. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like Baylor over Oklahoma right now too. I think Baylor, they have most of their starters last year returning besides Thornton.
Actually, okay. Okay. Now that I think about it, I completely forgot that Oklahoma State lost their defensive coordinator, and
all their defensive stars.
Yeah, and they were like a top 10 defense. So maybe not them, but I definitely think Baylor probably should be at least ahead of them, in my opinion.
I don't know. It really all depends on their offense, because what's his name? Marvin Mims is arguably their best player on their offense right now, and
Dylan Gabriel is their quarterback right now.
Yeah, but he showed 1 year maybe. I think he's been pretty injury prone, so he's had one full year.
No, I get that. It's just I'm just saying
UCF,
I just feel like he that doesn't really put confidence in their offense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. I understand why the coaches have them at number 9. It's because it's Oklahoma, and they usually reload. They have since, the early 2000s. They've reloaded pretty much every year and been a top 10 team. So I get it. I don't think I'll agree that I don't think that they're better than Baylor right now. I don't think that they're even better than Oklahoma State.
I don't think they're better than Oregon, to be honest. You could argue that.
Okay, let's let Lucas give that argument.
I do want to mention something about USC, and I hate defending USC, but Ryan, LSU in 2019 had a top 5 offense. I don't even know if they had the number 1 offense. I didn't look that up, but they had the number 33 defense in the country.
My bad. 35 defense. My bad.
USC could easily have a top 35 defense, I think, in the country, but I do agree that there is a lot to be you just don't know how their defense is going to be, but you kind of know how their offense is going to be, and it's going to be
LSU had the number 1 offense according to.
Did they?
I think
I don't think USC will have the number 1 offense, but it's going to be top 5. I can tell you that right now.
I think it's going to be a tough thing. I think it's going to be one of those things where I think people get caught up in. It's kind of like basketball. Basketball, you can have a super team because all you really need is 2 3 guys that are really superstars to take a team. Football, you can't just add big names and expect to win. It's like South Carolina. They got Spencer Rattler. Doesn't mean they're a playoff team. I mean,
college is a little different. If you can get that really good quarterback, that can be a big enough difference for at least an extra win or two. But yeah, you definitely need a lot more. It's the same thing with baseball. You really need a lot more than just that one all around great player to take you further than a few extra wins here and there.
Well, let me ask you guys this: what are your thoughts on Texas A&M and where they are, and then also Wisconsin?
Well, Texas A&M is different because of the fact that they're coming off of the greatest recruiting class in college football history, and they do have very good running. I think they have 2 really good running backs, and then their quarterback situation, I think, got better over compared to last year. So I think number 7 is a good spot. I'm surprised they didn't make them top 5. Maybe like swap. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't swap Notre Dame and Texas A&M just because of how A&M recruited last year. I'm glad that they didn't. I'm glad. I like where it is, but they could have a monster team this upcoming year. It's very possible that they could end up going 11-1, maybe even 12-0. I mean, they beat Bama last year with a much worse team than they have this year. So, I mean, they could go 12-0 this year. It's very possible. Or they could go 8-4 like they always do. It's just how
it's going to be. It's just going to be exactly that because we know that's how it's going to go.
What about Wisconsin with Graham Mertz as their quarterback? Do you like them being ranked as? If you're going to,
I don't mind it because.
If honestly, let me ask you guys this: if it came down to Wisconsin, Iowa, Purdue, who are you ranking? If you had to,
I'm taking Wisconsin.
Okay,
probably be Wisconsin, Iowa, and then Purdue in that order for me.
I would agree. Maybe Purdue over Iowa, just because I don't. The weird thing about Iowa is that like they kind of come out of nowhere. They always do. Where it's like nobody's really ever talking about them, and then all of a sudden, wait,
you'll get them
they're
like
8-0.
Like,
they're 9-0. They're number one, the number 1 team in the country. Wasn't that last year?
Yeah.
No. That was
2 years ago.
2015. They were both them and Michigan State were undefeated in the Big Ten championship game, and then we had what's his name, the guy on the goal line touchdown to win the game for Michigan State. Like Iowa was like 4, Michigan State was 5.
I want to say last year Iowa was 2 when they lost to Purdue. I'm pretty sure they were number 2. They were number 2.
Was that Michigan State? Oh, they were 3. But Josh just said they were 3. I think Michigan State was 2.
Okay.
When they lost to Iowa or Purdue. Now,
but that's the thing is that's just how Big Ten schools are, and so like I think Wisconsin's in a good spot, but you're gonna definitely see more big. Yeah, you're gonna see more Big Ten teams creep into the top 25. As the season goes on, it's just kind of how the Big Ten is. They kind of control the top 25, to be honest.
Yeah. Now let's look at another conference that we haven't really talked about, and that's the ACC. We have Clemson at 4, which I don't think any of us really think Clemson should be at 4. They could be top 10, but I just don't think their quarterback situation is clear enough for them to warrant being that high. But of course, it's Clemson, so they're going to get the benefit of the doubt. But I think the quarterback situation is bad enough that it's going to hurt them. Then you got NC State at 13, Pitt at 16, Miami at 17, and then we got Wake at 19. Full disclosure, I just don't think Wake will be there actually in the AP poll with what's going on with Sam Hartman. If he's not going to be there to start the season, they're not going to be ranked in the AP poll. I
agree.
What do you guys think about NC State? The supposed to be ACC champions, perfect season, and college football playoff contenders.
I think they're right.
ESPN.
I think they're right in the range that they need to be. They need to be in that 10 to 15 range. I 100% agree. The only team in the ACC on this list, other than like Wake Forest, obviously because of the Sam Hartman situation, I don't think Miami deserves to be ranked.
Ooh,
I really
I
don't.
disagree.
Miami, I think
disagree.
if anything, I'd rather put Miami than Pitt, because Pitt losing Pickett by himself is a huge loss.
And
Miami,
Addison.
And Addison, exactly. So, but now you have Miami, who probably has maybe, if Hartman doesn't play, Tyler Van Dyke is probably the best quarterback, maybe now in the ACC. Probably, I'd say.
Maybe Dan Leary.
For NC State.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I think Miami. I think it's going to be. I think Pitt has lost too much to really be a contender in the Coastal. And I think Miami is probably the clear favorite in the Coastal. So I think, if anything, they should be higher ranked. I understand putting Pitt higher just because of last season, but I think they're going to drop out pretty quickly. Same with Wake. I just don't think they have it.
Until Mario proves me otherwise, he can win a lot of games, but until he proves me otherwise, I won't be committed to any team that he is coaching, because we talked about it before the show. We watched Anthony Brown tear up. I get it, they're backups, undrafted free agents, whatever it is, but they're still NFL players. We watched Anthony Brown tear those guys up last night in a preseason game. It just shows how much Mario held back Anthony Brown, as well as Tyler Shuck, who actually had a good year at Texas Tech last year, and a lot of these other guys, where I think Travis Dye also is going to have a really good year at USC. So until I see otherwise, I think that Van Dimes is probably going to have I think he's going to have a pretty mediocre season under Cristobal's very, very conservative offense that I don't like Miami at 17. Maybe put him down in the 20 to 25 range, but I don't know.
I have the exact same feeling when seeing Hendon Hooker do so well for Tennessee last year, knowing Justin Fuente was holding him back by not letting him do what he could do best.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this, because would you guys be okay with, since you guys aren't high on Pitt, Miami, and Wake Forest, would you be okay with moving Kentucky, Arkansas, and Ole Miss to take Pitt, Miami, and Wake Forest's spots in the 16 to 20 range? And
I'd put Kentucky and Cincy above Texas, and I'd probably put Ole Miss.
I'd switch these. I'd switch the whole level. I'd switch it this way. So basically, Kentucky 16, Cincinnati 17, Arkansas 18, Ole Miss 19. Just because I think that SEC is just so loaded this year, and I really think Arkansas, Kentucky, and Ole Miss have a legitimate shot to be that dark horse team in the SEC title. And I'm very high, and I'm surprised because all the talk around Will Levis, Heisman candidate, first round pick. I mean, I'm surprised.
They just don't have enough around him for them to be any higher. I think with what Wake Forest did last year is the only reason why they have him at 19. But Kentucky being in the SEC is he just doesn't have enough around him for them to put him in the top 20. Now that doesn't mean that they won't get there, because obviously we've talked about it. We think that Kentucky seriously can be a problem in the SEC.
They still have Rodriguez at running back, and they have Robinson, who is one of the most explosive wide receivers.
Those guys aren't top. Those guys aren't top players in the SEC, though. I mean, let's be real. Those guys aren't top. Levis, yeah, you could probably put him in the, the top 3 range in the SEC at quarterbacks, maybe even number 2 behind Bryce Young. But those other guys aren't, they're not on that talent level. Could they put it all together as a team? Because we all understand that, even with USC, if they can't play together, they're not going to win games. Kentucky, if they play together, I think they can mesh and create, a really good team and create a lot of wins. But we just gotta wait and see. I think they're in a good spot.
And then the last thing before we go ahead and get into our own Cincinnati and Houston, your guys' thoughts on the American teams. And do you guys think, would you be okay with having a Coastal Carolina in there with Grayson McCall, who might be the best quarterback in the group of 5?
I think Cincy, because they were in the playoff at least, should have been at least top 20. I think they maybe should have been they could have been maybe that 18, 19, 20 range, a little bit higher. Houston, I'm fine with 21 through 25, somewhere in there. Coastal, I do want to eventually see ranked. I think they've had a long enough streak of excellence as a team to warrant getting ranked, and I definitely think that they're in a position to continue to kind of keep that going. It's from what I can tell.
Okay. What are your thoughts, Lucas?
Personally, I think there's one team that I don't know. My thing with Cincinnati is that I'm pretty sure they brought back like their whole coaching staff, if not at least their head coach, which is the most important piece. So I could see them reloading and being a good team. I like where they are. Losing, Sauce Gardner and then obviously Desmond Ridder is a huge, huge blow to them. You look at a lot of these other teams that have like crazy good quarterbacks and they fall off. Clemson obviously still won 10 games last year, but without Trevor Lawrence, only 10 games is not up to Clemson standards. You look at Oregon the year after
even then a lot of those wins were very close wins. They weren't dominating in any form and could have gone either way.
Right. And you look at a team like Oregon with after Mariota left, they ended up going, I believe, 9-4 the following season. So it's very possible that we could see Cincinnati drop out of top 25 by the end of the year, or at least just stay kind of right where they are at a 9-3 regular season, or, maybe they get 10 wins, whatever it may be the case. I like it. Houston, I'm not as big on Houston as a lot of people. Spoiler alert for my top 25. I actually don't have them in my top 25. I have another team, and I'll get to that. But I think they're right there at 26. I think they're right there on the cusp. I'm not quite as high as – there's a lot of people that are saying Houston could end as a top 10 team in the country, and
I wouldn't go that far. I like Houston mainly because last year, I don't know if you guys remember, but that last game between Cincinnati and Houston in the AAC championship, that game actually came down to the wire, and Houston would have been one game away from being the American Athletic Conference champions and also being in that New Year's Six Bowl for the best non-Power 5 school. So I think they're really good. They've got one of the best quarterbacks in college football as well.
De'Aaron King. I keep forgetting that
he's not.
It's isn't it?
I can't remember the kid's name, but he's really good. But
it's not Tanner Mordecai.
No, that's SMU.
That's SMU.
If you guys had two teams that you guys would
wait, wasn't it the guy that was at Texas? Is that Houston?
No.
I'm blanking on his name, but I feel like there's someone else that I can think of. There's another really cool name besides Tanner Mordecai that I know as a coach, as a quarterback, or was last year at least.
But anyway,
okay.
Real quick, two teams that you guys that are not on this list that you think either will be ranked by the end of the year, or some point this year, or should be ranked.
Iowa, immediately, and who did I have? Let me. I don't know. Definitely Iowa. That's just how it's going to be. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but.
What about you, Lucas?
So I was looking up Houston's quarterback. So it looks like his name is Clayton Tune.
Yeah, that's who it is, Tune. Yep.
I don't. Okay. Yeah, he's going into his senior season. He had 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions last year, 3,500 yards. So yeah, he's pretty good. Pretty good. One of the teams I'll get into, because like I said, I do have a team in my top 25. I guess I could just if Ryan, you want to say yours, I can't remember if you said yours, and then I can just go over my top 25 right now. I might as well.
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
Yeah.
What teams?
So, I mean, for me, the two teams, real quick, I'm just going to say is Iowa and probably Penn State, even though I don't trust Sean Clifford if he's still Penn State's quarterback. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's up there eventually, if they're up there eventually. Along with Tennessee. I think Tennessee –
I didn't even think about Tennessee.
I think their offense is – I think if their offense can continue what they did last year and their defense can kind of keep up, I think they could easily make it into the top 25. They're probably, offensively speaking, they're probably like a top 15 team if their offense is good enough, as good as last.
But they had what like the most efficient offense last year, or like the fastest offense, or something like that. Something like that. Yeah, Tennessee's offense was crazy good last year, so I totally could see that.
So I'll go ahead, and I guess I'll go 25 through 21, and then you guys can kind of let me know what you think so far. So my top 25 at 25, I had Purdue. I think Aiden O'Connell is going to have a breakout year this year for Purdue. I think Purdue's going to be a sneaky good team. I think they get 8 or 9 wins this year. So give me Purdue at 25. 24, I've got Pitt. Number 23, I have USC. 22, Tennessee. And then number 21, Cincinnati. Your guys' thoughts on 25 through 21?
I don't mind it. I don't think Purdue's a top 25 team right now, as of right now.
Yeah.
I think they're more of like a lower 30 to 35 type squad. But I mean, they've shocked a lot of people before. So I mean, they might come out there and, do really well and get into that top 25 by, week 3 or week 4, type deal. Other than that, I don't mind it. I like having Tennessee in there. And then USC at 23. I mean, you could have them at 23, 15, 4, or unranked. It's all, you're correct on all of them. Like with USC, nobody knows. So overall, I do like it. I like it.
Connor?
What are my thoughts? I have no issue with it as well. Pretty much what what Lucas said. I enjoy having Tennessee there. Excuse me. I think they probably should be ranked. And surprisingly, but that is yet another team I completely forgot about as well. So they're not in my list actually.
Okay. All right. So
Lucas, here are we gonna do?
Let's just go. Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's
okay,
do this.
Look at do 25 through 21 then for you.
So my 25 through 21. So 25 is the one team that I have out. So I don't have Houston in the top 25, but I actually have BYU at 25. They're returning a crap ton of guys, including all their coaches. So I think it might be a little biased just because I kind of want them to be in the top 25 by the time Oregon plays them in week 3, but because I'm going to be at that game. But I do think, returning a lot of guys will be good there. So at 24, I have Cincinnati. We spoke about them. At 23, I have Tennessee. And then at 22, I have Pittsburgh. And at 21, I have Wisconsin.
Okay, I like that list, actually. I really do. I can see we're kind of on the same page when it comes to Tennessee, kind of like in that sweet spot range of 22, 23.
Yeah, I think they definitely got to be there.
What about you, Connor?
I have no issues with that, but I'm the only one that doesn't have Tennessee in their top 25. Like I said, I completely forgot. So mine is 25 is Ole Miss. 24 is Iowa, 23 is Arkansas, 22 is Cincinnati, 21 is Wake. Okay. I dropped Wake down a little bit. Like I said, I think they'll probably start off ranked despite not having Sam Hartman, but I also would not be surprised if not even ranked because of him. He's the star quarterback. He's the engine that runs that show. If he's not there, I don't know what to tell you.
So you're pretty low on Ole Miss because of no Corral?
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's it as well. I mean, they're only 23 in the coaches, so it's not like they're dropped that far. I think they're 23 or 24, so they only dropped one. I do think not having Matt Corral will hurt them a little bit, but at the same time, I think we'll just have to see what's going to go on with that.
Okay.
Because who they get? They got Jackson Dart, right? Yeah.
Yep, Jackson Dart. Yep.
Oh, he's the one that went to Ole Miss because I know there was a huge domino effect with Caleb Williams and Spencer Rattler leaving Oklahoma, and a bunch of other quarterbacks moved because of that.
They could very easily also have the best running back duo in the SEC next year. People are really sleeping on Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss could be. I think they could very easily upset Alabama this year.
Is the game at home? Is the game at home or at Alabama?
I think
they don't have
Alabama
Chad
this year.
They don't have Chad Kelly. That's the only reason they won last.
Got Chad Kelly.
You need Chad Kelly. You need Chad Kelly to win in Alabama. Ryan, 20
through 16.
Let's do Lucas 20 through 16. Then we'll do
20
Ryan
through 16. Okay, so number 20, I have the Hurricanes. I spoke about it before. I think they should be between that 20 and 25 range. 19, I actually have Ole Miss at 19. I'm a lot higher on them than obviously the coaches are. At 18, I have Arkansas. 17, I have Kentucky. So I have them moving up quite a bit. I did talk about them. I thought that 21 is a good spot for them, but with just how my list worked out, Kentucky at 17 just felt right. And then at 16, I have USC just outside of that top 15. As you can tell, I don't have Wake Forest down there, and that is because of the Sam Hartman thing. Now, if they do win a couple games without Hartman and he comes back and, they run the table, then good for them, and I hope they do well. But as of right now, I just don't see them being better than the teams I have listed in my top 25 without Hartman specifically.
Yeah, I understand that. I think their offense is still pretty good without Hartman, but I think that he's the guy that runs that whole operation in Wake Forest.
Yeah.
But I don't have an issue. I really don't. What about you, Connor? You have any issues?
No, actually, we're pretty similar for the most part, me and Lucas. I'll get to that, though. Ryan, you go.
Okay. So at 20, I have Iowa.
Nice.
I think they deserve to be ranked. I think they're better than Wisconsin.
Do they still got Petrus?
No, I think so, but they still have that. Oh, what's his name? He was like.
Oh, that kid that started didn't he start in the Big Ten championship and get destroyed by Michigan?
Yeah, so Petrus is the starting quarterback again this year. He was the guy that played against Kentucky in the bowl game. The main thing with Iowa is their defense is just so good. I can't remember the kid's name.
The safety.
Yeah, that kid. I actually really like him as a player.
Yeah, he was a stud. He was really good last year.
So I have Iowa at 20. Like I said, I'm kind of higher on Houston than a lot of people are. I think they're going to be the best team in the American. I think they're better than UCF and Cincinnati going into this year. So give me Houston at 19. 18, I have Wake Forest. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt with Hartman or not. If they had Hartman, they'd be a top 15 team for me. I dropped them a few. But I still think they can still get a few wins. Depending on when Hartman comes back. If he comes back like after a couple games and Wake Forest is 2-0, 3-0, 2-1, 3-1, then I think that they still deserve to be ranked. Then after Wake Forest at 17, I have Arkansas. I'm really high on Arkansas this year with KJ Jefferson in his final year. I know they lost Treylon Burks and a lot of their big weapons, but they do have one of the best defenses in the SEC, and have one of the best defensive players in the SEC. So give me the Razorbacks at 17, and then 16 I have Miami. Tyler Van Dimes, I think he's a legitimate Heisman contender this year, and I really think Miami is close to being back to what Miami was that they have been in a long time.
Well, are they close? So do you mean 2017, or are you talking about early 2000s Miami? Because
kind of like how Marcus Freeman's kind of making Notre Dame cool again. I think
I'm also just glad that the Miami's getting rid of the turnover chain. They got rid of it.
I think Mario is the guy that's going to make Miami cool again and relevant. I know, Lucas, you don't want to hear that. I just think that it's too much of a fit at Miami, and I think he's going to put his whole heart and soul into this program, unlike he was at Oregon, which I think he was halfway out the door after the Stanford loss, to be honest. So, yeah, give me the Hurricanes at 16. Any issues?
Other than, obviously I said Houston. I don't think Houston's a top 25 team. And then I, touched on Miami, obviously, as you just talked about them. I'm not as high on them. I think they're a 20 to 25 team until Mario proves me otherwise. I don't think I don't know. It's hard to say with Mario because he's had better teams at Oregon than he has this year with Miami, and has still lost 2 or more games every season he was at Oregon. So, I mean, yeah, that'll still get you in the top 25, but with the expectations that Miami has, where they're like, oh, they're going to be back to where they were playing in, conference title games and, maybe competing for championships. Title games, sure, just because the ACC is not, the greatest conference in the world, but I don't see them, competing or even getting as close as even Oregon got in 2019 to the college football playoff. But that's just more of me hating Mario and not liking Miami as a whole. Other than that, yeah, I mean, it's just those things, I would say, for me anyways.
You guys fine with me having Arkansas 17?
I have them at 18.
I have no problem with it.
So
I have no problem.
Right.
I'm the one that has them a little bit lower, but I have no problem with it. I don't have.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, I had no issue if the coaches pull out and switched. I'm in that 15 to 20 range. Okay.
depends on
So
how
for
much
me-
Burks hurts. I would
Yeah.
Not
say
having
like
him?
how much not having Treylon Burks will be for them, because I mean he was like pretty much their entire offense last year. Obviously their quarterback, what's his name? Is that
KJ Jefferson.
AJ Jefferson.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. I think he can make receivers good, but if he doesn't have that like true number one, I don't know how many games they're gonna win or what.
Well, we did kind of see what happened to Arkansas, that the one game that Treylon Burks was completely eliminated in that Georgia game.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's Georgia. That was also Georgia.
That's Georgia,
so-
but like that was the whole game plan, was take away Treylon Burks, and it didn't go
worked.
so well.
Okay. For me, 20, I have Miami.
Good.
I think they're probably the coastal favorites. And UNC has lost too much, especially now that Howell's gone, and all their good wide receivers and playmakers are gone from the past 2 seasons. And I think Mac Brown is probably a season or 2 from retiring fully for the final time. He's looking old and tired on the sidelines there. I just remember seeing his face after VT beat him to open the season last year, and he just looked so dejected. It was pretty funny to see. I'll fully admit that. 19, I've dropped him down one from the coaches. I have Texas. I think I'm the only one that has Texas in there. I don't know why. It's just it's just one of those things. Texas is always going to be ranked. It probably should be maybe in really that 21 to 25 range is really where I should have put them.
I
But
don't
I
want to
kinda did this-
reward a 4-8 team. That's the thing, is that I understand Texas. I understand that they've got hype this year, but when does Texas not have hype?
They're literally the Cowboys of the college football, pretty much.
I mean, it's just like, I don't know.
It's
It's
good because they're from the same.
we actually do need to do some research and figure out who the one guy that voted Texas as the number one team in the country, and we need to actually like figure out where he works, tell his bosses, and get his credentials completely revoked because.
Well, I
have
know
no-
that when the AP, I remember seeing on Twitter when the AP poll comes out, I've seen a tweet that comes out that shows all the people that voted, and it shows their exact. So it's like all the names this way, all the people's names this way, and then they're 25 1 through 25 this way, so you can see all the teams for them, or it's something like that where you can see all that. So I don't know. Okay,
Watch it be Steve Sarkisian that like Sark had him as the number one team.
I think you're not. I think that's. I don't know. 18. I have Wisconsin. Smash mouth football. They're just gonna run your face in. Good offensive line, good running backs and stuff. Obviously. 17. I switched them around. Actually, originally I had Miami at 17, but I decided to switch this team around because I believe in them more, and that's Kentucky. Go Josh. I just believe in them a bit more. Will Levis is really good, and I think it's kind of funny how John Calipari is kind of throwing shade at his own school's football team now. It's kind of funny. The shade that's being thrown between the two sports. And then 16, I did have USC. I just wasn't sure where to put them. Drop them. I think that's one or two down from where they are in the coaches poll. Excuse me. It's just, I don't know.
I don't have any issues. You and Lucas are kind of on the same page with a lot of things in regards to the rankings.
But then I think other than Texas, I think we're pretty close. Did you have Wisconsin 18?
I had Wisconsin at 21. I had Arkansas at 18. We both had Kentucky at 17. We both had Ole Miss or Miami at 20.
And USC at 16.
USC at 16, yeah.
Okay,
Connor.
Luke.
15 through 11.
You want me to go or who?
11. I can go.
Okay, I'll go.
Whatever. Okay, you go.
So 15, I have Texas. I have Texas top 15.
Ooh.
It's mostly just because I do think that they have some really, really good players, and I think they can be up there. They were able to actually flip a 5-star offensive lineman from Oregon. I don't think he really flipped. I think he transferred because of Mario leaving, so they got him at Texas, and he was the one that kind of started like the dominoes of a bunch of people committing and like transferring to Texas. So I think that they are a top 15 team preseason until I see them play. I have no idea. I mean,
wait, hold on. Josh, first of all, the difference between Notre Dame and Texas is at least we go to a bowl game and we finish in the top 10 every year. Texas usually finishes unranked. There's the difference, but go ahead, Lucas.
Yeah, I don't know. I think 15 is a good solid spot for them just before the season starts and we get to see them. Don't they play like Bama week 1?
Week two. It's at Texas.
Like that's when we're gonna really see. That's when we're gonna really see like if Bama or if Texas is even worth anything.
I'm already telling you right now.
Do they get Bama at home or are they on the road for that game?
I have no idea.
Lucas, I'm telling you right now, give me Alabama plus or minus 21. I will take that bet in a heartbeat. It's gonna be
here's the deal.
What?
Here's the deal about that though, is that obviously Bama is like way better than Texas. I mean, Alabama, I'm pretty sure they're double-digit favorites in every single game this year. So, like, I'm pretty positive that they're one of two teams. Them and Ohio State are both double-digit favorites in every single game they play this year. So I mean, it's hard to compare them with Bama, but we'll get to see if they can actually like compete. And I don't know. So I'm actually looking this up. We'll get to see if they'll actually
point
compete.
Spread.
Okay, Lucas.
But anyways,
keep
moving
going.
on. Moving on, I have it's at Texas, by the way. It's in Austin.
Yeah, Bama's a 15.5 point favorite.
So it's really 18. So it's really over.
No, it's really that would make it 12. That would make it 12 because you gotta give Texas the 3 point.
No, if it's 15 now at Texas, then if it was at Bam, then if it was neutral site, it'd be 18 because you add 3 to. Bam.
Yeah, they give 3 points per home.
Okay, so 14, I have Michigan State. 14, I got Michigan State. Obviously losing Kenneth Walker is a big blow, but they did get a couple good running backs in the transfer portal with Broussard from Colorado, and I think they got one other guy that was a stud. So I'm not really sure. I just think I think 14 is a good spot for Michigan State. At 13, I have Oregon, dropping them down one spot in the coaches. Mostly because of, expectations versus reality. I don't really know how good they're going to be. I think they are a top 15 team right now, maybe even pushing a top 10 talent-wise. But, I mean, they have a guy – I mean, I don't know how many quarterbacks in the SEC have started 3 or more seasons in the SEC, and they have a guy that has started 3 seasons in the SEC at their quarterback now. I know it's Bo Nix, but it's still a guy that has started 3 seasons in the SEC, which is pretty incredible. Actually, what's funny about Bo Nix is he could become, I believe, the first ever starting quarterback to lose to Georgia 4 straight years, which is pretty incredible.
Wait, really? Wow.
It's not 4 straight years. It's 4 times in his college career. He'd be the first starting quarterback to lose to Georgia 4 times in his college career.
Wow.
Let's hope that doesn't happen September 3rd.
The more you know.
Let's hope that doesn't happen September 3rd.
We just need that rainbow. The more you know.
It's just weird how it like adds up that way, where he was at Auburn and then now he's at Oregon. He still gets to play Georgia. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. He's like, I thought I was going to escape from them, but I can't
escape Georgia, but it's impossible.
It's like they're stalking him. He can't get away.
And then at number 12, I have NC State here. Obviously, that drops them, that raises them up. Basically, swapping them with Oregon. I just think they're probably a better, more experienced team than Oregon, even though Oregon has a really experienced offensive line. And then number 11, I have Oklahoma here. I have them outside of the top 10. I do think that they could be a top 10 team, but for me right now, I just have them, it's just kind of how things lined up is where I have them just outside of the top 10.
Gotcha.
I don't have an issue with anything outside of Texas. That's probably my only thing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but it's we're gonna make ourselves hoarse talking about Texas being ranked.
That's why I put Texas and USC right there at 16-15 because they're just like such in like no man's land where you just don't know between these two teams.
I just can't wait to. We don't have to listen to anybody say the words Texas is back.
Unless they beat Bama.
Unless they beat Bama. Because after week 2, I'm pretty sure every Texas fan
Texas is back, folks.
Dude, that's a 9 a.m. game.
Yeah.
What's a 9 a.m. game?
It's a noon game for Eastern time. The Alabama-Texas game. That's so weird. Why? It should be a night game. That should be a night game, dude. They're 2 historic programs facing off, and they're out of conference. That should be a night game every time. That's crazy that it's a noon game.
Okay, Ryan, let's hear you. Say your 15 through 11.
So my 15, I have Ole Miss. I'm very high on them. With Jackson Dart, I think they're just going to kind of replace what Matt Corral did, and I think Jackson Dart can lead them to a 10-2, 11-1 type year. Number 14, I've got NC State. I'm not buying the whole national championship contenders or playoff contender talk. I'm just glad that none of us had them in the top 10.
We're not that stupid.
We're not that stupid.
Hey, if I have to, because of your track record on how much you were like off of the Iowa State hype train last year and they ended up sucking, I have to agree with you. But if NC State ends up winning 10 or more games this year, are you going to admit that you were wrong about the Wolfpack?
I said they're not a top 10 team. If they don't finish inside the top 10, then the thing about Iowa State is they were ranked ahead of Notre Dame, if I remember correctly.
Iowa State was like, what, 6 last
year?
I
think they were 5 or 6.
Like
and I was
5.
like, what? Like, come on.
Well, they were returning everybody, including their starting quarterback and Breece Hall. So, like, I mean, I kind of got it, but I was on them. I thought they were actually going to be good, and then they just lost, like, every game. They lost to Texas Tech last year.
I could see them being – I mean, I could see them being 4-0 heading into that Clemson game. Well, they promise it's at Clemson, but they could be 4-0 easily going into that game.
The thing is, their schedule is not even that hard.
See, that's easy – they could easily end 11-1.
Exactly.
Yeah, Florida State, Syracuse. Then they get VT at home. They get Wake at home. Wait a minute. They get Wake. They get VT, Wake, Boston College, and then they close at LSU or Louisville and UNC.
I'm not buying what Greg McElroy and I want to say Desmond Howard are selling. That NC State is a legitimate college football playoff contender. They were like 9-3 last year. Actually 9-4 counting the bowl game. Like, come on. Like let's be real. They're not like this NC State Wolfpack team's not better than the team that they had a few years ago with Bradley Chubb and that whole team. But anyway, at 13, I've got Kentucky. I'm really high on them. I think they're going to be the SEC East champions this year, dethroning Georgia. I'm really high on them. I think Will Levis he could win the Heisman this year. Number 12, I got Oklahoma. I think they lost too much to really still be in that top 10. They're kind of a team that's kind of like what Lucas said about USC and Texas. They're kind of on that no man's land where they could be the Oklahoma of old. But they could also just be kind of like a 8-4, 9-3 type team. And Brett Venables doesn't really have a lot to work with besides the quarterback position and Marvin Mims. So give me Oklahoma. And then 11, I got Clemson. I think Clemson is not back. I think their offense showed way too many flaws last year to put them in the top 10. I think they're right on the edge. I just don't know what they've done to really fix the issue.
They have the highest rated team in college football, according to stars on their offense. They have 92 total They have 92 total stars on their team, which is the highest in all of college football, which is
you mean like 3, 4, 5 stars? That's that sort of number?
Yes, which is why I think they're ranked so high.
Interesting.
So yeah, they're in front of Bama, which is kind of crazy.
In my opinion, if they let DJ cook, if they let DJ be himself and not force him to be a pocket QB, which he's not, then I think the offense will open up just like how it did in that game against Notre Dame in 2020. I think that the issue is that the offensive guy that they have now was an assistant under the old OC, has the same philosophy, wants DJ to be a pocket passing quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, and doesn't want him to be on the move, which that's not DJ. DJ is not Trevor Lawrence. He's kind of like a Kelly Bryant type. For him to be effective, you have to get him out on the run and let him throw from outside the pocket. But their defense is still top 10, if not top 3 in the country. So for that reason, I have them just on the outside of being a top 10 team.
Okay, my turn.
Yep.
Okay, 15. I got Pitt. I don't know. They're there just because of last year, but I don't think they're even a top 25 team talent wise. Keaton Slovis replacing Kenny Pickett does not really give me confidence, and losing Jordan Addison is going to be really tough for them. And I think they're not the best team in the Coastal right now. I think it is probably Miami, despite what I was saying about them, not really buying into Miami. For now, Pitt's going to be ranked higher than them, but I think Miami will take the Coastal. 14, I do have NC State. I don't know. I mean, I'm just like you. I don't exactly buy the playoff. I mean, after UNC was the dark horse playoff team last year, and then they crashed and burned, even in the first game of the season against my team, like until I see them go 10 plus, have 10 plus wins, I'm not going to buy it. 13, I have Lucas's Oregon. I think they'll be better, but obviously Lucas has a better idea of how the team's going to do. But we'll just have to see how Dan Lanning does in his first year with them. 12, I have Michigan State. Not having, what's the guy's name? What was the running back's name?
Kenneth Walker.
Kenneth Walker. Yeah, not having him. Their offense will probably suffer a little bit because he was pretty much most of the offense for them. But I like what Mel Tucker's done for them the past 2 years. He's taken them from a really bad team his first year to a really good team. And so he's earned the benefit of the doubt. So that's why he's there. And then, I do have Oklahoma at 11. I just think there's too many question marks. Offensively, we just don't know what to think. Brad Venables has never been a head coach before. He's a defensive-minded coach too. So how will that translate? You know what I mean? So there's too many questions, and I just think Baylor and Oklahoma State don't really have the same number of questions. Oklahoma State, though, I do have them above them. Oklahoma State probably has a bigger question of how will the defense do well now that their defensive coordinator is left and gone to Ohio State. But Oklahoma at 11 for me.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with anything.
I like that. So I was looking up the spread for what do they call it? Like the backyard brawl between West Virginia and Pittsburgh that's happening this year again.
Oh,
isn't it called
the backyard? It's like the backyard war or the backyard. Yeah, it's like the backyard something.
But Pittsburgh is only a 7-point favorite in that game against West Virginia.
Is it at West Virginia?
That doesn't tell you like.
It is the backyard brawl.
Is it Acrisure Stadium? Acrisure Stadium, is that Pittsburgh? No, Pittsburgh plays in.
Oh no, they changed. It's no longer Heinz Field. It's no longer Heinz Field, so it might be that.
Acrisure Stadium.
Is it in Pittsburgh? Is that what it says?
Yep. Yeah, it's in Pitt.
So
it's in Pitt, and there's still only 7-point favorites. So clearly the odds makers aren't as high on Pitt as these, the coaches poll, even having them up there. Or, West Virginia is just like on the brink of a top 25 team. I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I don't think West Virginia is. They were like 5-7 last year. They were not very good.
They do have JT Daniels.
That is true. But JT Daniels is like the.
They did upset your Hokies.
That wasn't really an upset. More Virginia Tech just shot themselves in the foot, even though we were ranked. But that really should have been a game that if
Going through the
coaches
highlights
were
of that
smart,
game-
we should have won that game.
I'll say it right
We
now.
really
Going
should
through
have
the
won that
highlights
game.
of that game when I made the Virginia Tech pump up video, yeah, Virginia Tech did everything they could in that game to give that game away. And West
Pretty much,
Virginia also
yeah.
did everything.
I
they could to give
I
that
was
game
watching
away.
that game and I had no faith and like
Both teams
You got-
both teams did not want to win that game. I'll just say that.
yeah, but VT, that should have been a game VT should have won. Like that's the thing. Like if you have VT, if you're VT and you have a win at West Virginia as a top 15 team, and then you beat Notre Dame, we're having a much different conversation about VT and Justin Fuente is heading into his 7th season with the team, despite
100%.
despite everything else.
They should have won both of those games. I mean, let's be real. They should have.
Oh no, they should have.
They should have
Let's
won that
calm
game
down.
against Notre Dame.
Let's calm down.
I
Let's-
understand.
Ryan, you're the one who's admitted that. You're the one who's admitted that VT should have won that before. You've admitted that before.
No,
so.
you guys should have.
Notre Dame gave them that game, like the interceptions at the end and all the pick six. Like you guys,
See, I will give
literally
give
them that game.
Jack Cohn one compliment. He might be one of the best quarterbacks of all time in college football history that gets benched, and then you throw
More
out there
than
for
anyone
a
else?
2-minute drive to win a game. Like,
Yeah.
like, I mean, he got benched like 3 times this year for Tyler Buckner. Buckner does good and then does terrible, and then we
Buckner
don't.
was the one who threw the pick 6, right? Versus
Yeah.
VT.
2 straight
for-
interceptions to VT.
Yeah.
But
All right, my top 10 through 6. So I have number 10, Baylor. I do think they're a top 10 team overall, but it's still going to be curious to see how their quarterback does. He's only started 2 games in his college career. So, like, I mean, yeah, they were 2 big games, including one. One was the biggest game of his life, being the conference title. But only
That was
2
more
games
just
this career.
That was more Oklahoma State kind of messing up there at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I mean,
cool.
Spencer Sanders is used to throwing
choking.
interceptions
To
in big
choking.
games. To
Yeah.
choking, yeah, for sure. Still think they should have won that, and if they would have won that, they would have been in the college football playoff, but I digress. Number 9, I have Texas A&M. Obviously, I'm not quite as high on them as everybody else is, but I do think they're a top 10 team coming into this next year. Like I said before, they could either be, they could go 11-1, 12-0 easily with the kind of talent that they have on their team. They could easily have 11 or 12 wins this season, but they're probably going to go 9-3 or 8-4. I mean, let's be honest. It's probably going to happen.
Baylor?
That's just
Or
no, Texas A&M.
oh, sorry, I zoned out for there for a second. I was completely forgot where you were.
I think Baylor's probably a 10-win team. I think so. 9 to 10 wins for sure. But for A&M, even though I have them higher just because of the talent they have on their team and their potential, like their ceiling is one of the highest in the country. I could still see them only winning 8 games. Number 8, I have Oklahoma State. I don't think they're going to fall that far off next year as of like their defense wise. I think there's going to be a little bit of drop off, but not too much. I think it's going to be about as much drop off as like a Georgia is going to have. Like Dan Lanning was really important to Georgia, but their defense is going to still be elite. I think we're going to see the same thing at Oklahoma State. Spencer Sanders going into his last year, like he clearly knows that if he wants to be anything when it comes to football in his life, he's going to have to start picking it up and winning these big games. So I think he's poised to have like a really big year. Number 7, I have Utah. Fuck the Utes. Number 6.
I mean, uck the foots.
Huck the foods.
Yeah.
Huck the foods. We just got
Number 6.
demonetized with the 1 cent of money that we were making from this video.
The 1
No.
cent.
Okay, I don't even think we were making a cent, but we're an hour in, so they're not even going to see it.
That's true.
But number 6, I have Clemson still. Like I said, they do have like probably the most talent out of any team. Maybe not so much NFL talent, but just talent overall out of any team in the country. So I'm still going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think Dabo is probably the second best head coach in the country right now. It has been for the last, nearly 10 years. So yeah, so I got Clemson right there at 6. I think you could probably easily put Utah over Clemson just because of how Utah ended the year last year, and but I got Clemson there.
I got no problem with
that. All right, so 10 through 6. On number 10, I've got Texas A&M. I understand they had the best recruiting class in college football history. Still got to take into account these kids are freshmen, and freshmen make mistakes. I don't care how good you are. Hell, even Trevor Lawrence made mistakes his freshman year. So I think they're a year away.
But he ended it with a natty.
He did end it with a natty, but I think they're a year away. Number 9, I've got Michigan State. I might be higher on them than you guys are. I still think they've got a really good quarterback. I mean, he's not the best, but Peyton Thorne is still a decent quarterback in the Big Ten. And I think I have a lot more faith in Mel Tucker. I think he's one of the better coaches in college football right now. So give me the Spartans. At number 8, I got Oklahoma State. I understand they lost a lot defensively. I'm kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt based on last year. Spencer Sanders is one of those guys that he can be good enough to win you a game, but he can also be so bad to the point where it costs you a game.
And we saw that in 2 straight games. The Big 12 title game and
then against Notre Dame. I think in the final 5 minutes against Notre Dame, they were in the red zone twice, and they were up by 7, and Spencer Sanders fumbled the ball twice. And Notre Dame just couldn't capitalize, which hurts even more. But anyway, at number 7, I've got Baylor. I am really high on Baylor this year.
Can I add something? So, yeah. Ryan, did you watch any of the Michael Mayer's podcasts with Bustin' with the Boys?
I only seen the part where he talked about Marcus Freeman. I only seen that part where he talked about Marcus Freeman's changing the culture and that the players really like him a lot.
And so he was speaking about how, and this goes into probably why they ended up losing that game against Oklahoma State. And he was talking about how literally bowl practice, it was like a week and a half before the bowl game when they found out. And what was funny is that the head or the assistant coaches were texting and calling Michael and being like, "Hey, have you heard any news about Brian Kelly?" And then Michael's like, I'm a player. You guys are the coaches. How would I know before you? Everybody was super confused, what was going on with Brian Kelly. And then obviously that video with Freeman running into the locker room, that took place literally the week of the bowl game. So I got to give ND some credit because they did make it a good game, even though they were in the middle of craziness the week of that bowl game. It was just wild.
I think Freeman said he only really got to have 4 practices with the team before the game, where it was just him as the head coach. I'd be interested to hear what happened in the locker room when we go up 28-7 in the halftime, and then we come out and it's our offense just decided they forgot how to play football all of a sudden.
You falconed it.
That's Notre Dame for you, I guess.
But
Emulating the very best strategies right there. The Atlanta Falcons. That's the best choice right there.
Yep. Jack Cohn felt like being Matt Ryan for a half. And
hey, well, you know what? He's
just
on the
fell
same
apart.
team. He's on the same team with Matt Ryan too, so it kind of makes sense.
Oh, he's on the Colts?
Yeah,
Jack
he's
Cohn's
on the Colts.
Oh,
That's
he,
funny.
Yeah.
Dude, he's
his
following
idol.
his footsteps.
He's following his idol.
Hey, we got 28-7 and 28-3 on the same roster.
Did you know I saw
That
someone
was
that was
crazy.
joking? There's only been 3 times where a team has finished with 3 penalties for 28 yards exactly in NFL history. One of them was the Patriots. One of them was the Falcons, apparently. Still tied together somewhere. I saw that on Reddit earlier today.
28-3.
28-3.
Right.
Unfortunately, Coster wanted that to end. Unfortunately, it probably never will. Even when Atlanta wins the Super Bowl eventually, it's never going to end.
Nope.
Yeah,
I'll never
saw-
let Ryan forget 28-7 either. I'll never.
No,
I know
definitely-
Oregon. I know Oregon lost. What was it? 31-0. I know 31-0 was pretty bad, but however,
VT, all you really need to do is say 14-10, and I think we immediately think of Matt Ryan 2008.
just hurting your soul.
I mean, VT, if they win that game, they're probably the number 2 team in the country because BC was the number 2 team, and VT then won out the rest of the way, and they probably would have been in the championship versus LSU. I don't think they would have won, but those last 2 minutes are just painful as VT fans.
I think that was. I think I
Anyways.
seen something when that happened in Notre Dame. It was the biggest comeback against Notre Dame in like 20 plus years. So, and I know Lucas likes to hold it against me that Marcus Freeman's 0-1.
Yep.
Yep, he's a loser. They
He has
should
the
just
worst.
fire him right now.
He has a worse head coaching record than Brent Pry right now. So really, Connor should be pretty.
We made the
scared.
right hire. We made the right hire.
Hey, you know
Right
what?
hire. Let's go.
He's worse than all of us. He has as many wins as we do. Okay, Ryan. It's
Anyway,
your
7. I have Baylor. I'm really high on Baylor, and I think Blake Shapen is a really good quarterback. And I think Baylor wins the Big 12 title this year. And I think they're a
Again?
legitimate. I think they're a legitimate college football playoff contender. They really didn't lose a lot. They lost that kid that ran like the fastest 40 time. I think ever
It was
was
like
it?
Traquan Johnson or some.
It was Traquan Thornton, I think.
Something like that.
Tyquan Thornton.
But that's literally all they lost was him. So they're returning everybody. Number 6, I know this might surprise you guys. I have Notre Dame. I think that they could be anywhere from 6 to 10. I'm kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt here. They're one of those teams that has a lot of mystery. And I had talked to Lucas about it in the group chat. They're a team that could very easily have maybe a top 5 defense in college football. Their offense is the thing. Their offense, it depends on if whoever starts.
It's gonna be like the Ravens. They're just gonna be throwing to the tight end the entire time. You're never gonna have any wide receivers involved. Just straight all the time to Max Meyer or whatever the hell his name
Michael
is.
Mayer.
Michael
Well, you
Mayer.
know Ohio State.
I want to keep saying Michael Myers for some reason because I'm so used to that.
You know that the game plan week 1, Ohio State's going to double team Michael Mayer. That's literally what they're going to
For
do.
sure.
Yeah.
So
And of course, these freshman wide receivers, whoever you have to.
Dude,
Well-
it's gonna leave my boy Braden Lindsey wide the frick open, man.
well, we got good news. Avery Davis is going to be good to go. So,
Yes.
Avery Davis and Braden Lindsey are going to be the top 2. Then it's 2
It
sophomores.
just depends on if Buckner
Did you say
can
2
even get him
soccer
the ball.
players?
No, 2 sophomores. We have 2 sophomores, and
Oh,
so
sophomores.
we have 5. We have 5 wide receivers that are going to be eligible to play week 1. One of them is a freshman that has never. He's a freshman from this recent class who's only true freshman. He's only had 2 weeks of fall camp. And then we've got a sophomore in Deion Colsey who had, I think, 2 catches last year in limited game time. And then Styles, who's supposed to be like the superstar wider. He's supposed to be like the next Chase Claypool, I guess, and he didn't. He kind of broke out later in the season last year, and then Avery Davis and Braden Lindsey, who are 2 6-year seniors. So,
well, that's not too bad because I found out yesterday that the Baltimore Ravens only keep 6 wide receivers on their roster.
We will probably have 5, and we're gonna have 4 tight ends. Legitimately,
yeah.
Well, it's also we're gonna have 5 receivers, 4 tight ends, and legitimately probably 9 or 10 offensive linemen because the offensive line there's so many. There's a bunch of injuries on the offensive line last year, and there's so many uncertainties with the starters that we're gonna keep 2 full lines on the roster probably.
But realistically, like Isaiah Likely's a wide receiver. Let's be real. That guy can't block for his life.
And he had two really bad holding
crazy
calls.
Hands.
I really hope Isaiah Likely I hope he gets to be the tight end too. He's more tight end.
He'll be the true tight end too. Nick Boyle is more of a blocking tight end.
Okay, good.
But Boyle is considered probably the best blocking tight end in the NFL. Like when the Ravens signed Boyle to an extension a few years ago, apparently the number of teams in the offers he was getting were crazy high for a tight end who had barely produced offensively because of how good of a blocker he actually was. He was being I think the Ravens got him for 3 years, 18, and apparently he was being offered 4 years, 25, or 4 years, 30 million or something. But he took the Ravens offer because he wanted to stay. He was getting some crazy offers for a tight end that didn't really produce.
He didn't even play last year.
No, that's because he tore his ACL versus the Cowboys in 2020. He played a little bit. He would come in towards the end of the season. He would play a little bit here and there, but he wasn't to himself. So that's why the Ravens double dip in tight ends, because I'm sure they'll if he's not back to full health, they'll probably just cut him and save some money next year. They'll probably keep him this year, but they'll probably cut him, save some money, and then they'll have Charlie Kohler and Isaiah Likely. Kohler is definitely the better of the blocker.
I'm still so mad because we wanted Isaiah Likely because after we lost Noah Fant, him and Trey McBride were 2 guys that the Broncos really wanted, and they were immediately off the board. We just the tight end position was really high
in the 4th round. That's what happens when the Ravens have 4 4th-round picks.
I got mad when
didn't you guys pick 2 tight ends in the 4th round?
We took Charlie Kohler with the 1st run. Then we took Jordan Stout, a punter. Excuse me.
The kid's a stud. He was good.
He was good. Then we took Isaiah Likely, but apparently we were going to take Calvin Austin, but then the Steelers took him up 2 picks before us, and so they pivoted and took Likely, which I don't mind. I'm totally fine with
Connor,
that.
really quick, because we do gotta get. But I have a question. Why was the guy who was calling the Ravens preseason game last night? Why was his name the same name of that guy?
Jerry Sandusky. Yeah.
Dude, he got okay. The other Jerry Sandusky is with a J. This guy's with a G.
It's with a
for
G.
Jerry.
Yeah.
But he was getting when that happened, when that news broke, he was getting so much hate, obviously, because he was tweeting about it and stuff. And people were like, "How are you allowed to be on Twitter and be free and stuff?" Because people didn't realize it was the same guy, or it was 2 different guys. And he said, for a year, for a solid few months, his life was a living hell.
He made the joke during the broadcast when he was talking about.
Yeah, he did. He's gotten past it, but I mean, he's been the Ravens radio announcer for.
Also, how the heck did you guys get Rod Woodson to call the Ravens games? He's a Steeler.
He was a Raven. He was a
Raven. He was with the Ravens. He was with the Ravens from. He was on their 2000 team. He was on the 2000 team. He was there from 98 to 2001.
Why didn't you want to call the Steelers games?
Because the Steelers are stupid and didn't want him. I don't know. I can't tell you.
Also,
I can't tell you. I just know that.
I'm pretty sure Zach Wilson tore his ACL. By the way.
Oh.
Who? What?
Zach Wilson.
I'm pretty sure Zach Wilson tore his ACL.
Well, the Ravens started versus the Jets. Now we have to face the legend that is Mike White.
I
did see that he got carted off. Yeah. What?
I'm gonna say this: your announcers last night were very, very, very biased. Very
Well, they're
biased.
no,
To the
but
Ravens.
they're Ravens.
They're the
They're
Ra-
Ravens.
I know, but
No,
like
they're the
you
Ravens
still gotta
only.
be neutral. I mean,
No,
even
that's
That's not how
no,
that
they
works.
don't. It's just like watching baseball, especially with baseball having all the regional. Have you ever heard of
the Cardinals. The Cardinals play-by-play guys are
Sure,
very
but like
neutral.
sure, but then like the Red Sox are going to be super biased. I've honestly the only time I've ever heard them say anything good about another team is just when a really crazy play happens. I feel like if I was an announcer, and I was for a team like that, I'd probably be a little bit less biased. You know what I mean? But
I just got sick of hearing them complain about the officiating in a dang preseason game. Like,
well, it was a little weird, and there was that time it took literally like 3 or 4 minutes to get to decide.
It was hard to
on
watch.
few
It was hard to
penalties.
watch for me being a Titans fan because they would well, the thing about preseason is like I want to know who's making these plays. So like when I see a defensive tackle or something, like usually they would be like, oh, blah 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 with the tackle, and I would be like, oh, okay, that's our rookie, or that's this guy that I've been seeing in camp, but they never did on defense, and I was like, come on, just tell me who it was.
So which stream were you watching, Lucas? Were you watching the Ravens or the Titans one?
I didn't have an option. It was just the Ravens.
I didn't either. It was just the Ravens.
Maybe the Titans just didn't have one. That's
I don't think the Titans had one because it was in Maryland. So I don't.
The NFL only when it's preseason they only let the home teams have the announcers
broadcast. Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't know that. But I know the Ravens, like their next one, I'll be able to watch. Okay, Josh is gone, but we'll see. Josh, see you, Josh.
Anyway,
I already left
Connor,
a few minutes ago.
give us your 10 through 6.
Yeah, it's taking us a while to get through this. Jeez, we're making it 2 hours for
we
this.
went on a tangent.
Yeah, we went on a major tangent. Okay, 10 is Oklahoma State. Like I said, it'll be interesting to see how they stand up their defense, especially they had a top 10 defense last year. How will that hold up, losing their defense coordinator? But they probably have the best returning.
Sorry.
Did the Red Sox just get it?
No, the Ducks landed Joe Mixon's little brother.
Oh, so he's going to slap some bitches around?
Hell yeah, especially those you bitches.
Hell yeah. Okay. Oklahoma State, they have Spencer Sanders. I mean, despite his issues that we say about him, he's probably the best returning quarterback in the Big 12. Next at 9, I have Baylor. I don't know. There's Baylor's. Oh my God, that's a terrible swing. Hayes, why'd you swing at that? That's literally 3 feet out of the zone. Sorry, I'm keeping track of a baseball game. That's why I'm not paying attention well. 8, I have Texas A&M. Probably going to go 8-4 again, like usual. 7, I have the Utes. 7, I have the Utes. And then 9, I have Notre Dame. 6, I have Notre Dame. Excuse me. That's what I got. Let's hurry this up.
You guys both have Notre Dame at 6. So moving on, I have Notre Dame at 5. I have them top 5, just because. I mean, realistically, they're gonna lose. They're probably gonna go 11-1. I think we can all agree that like 11-1 is probably where they're gonna be. Like realistically, 10-2 maybe. 9-3 is their floor probably, just because of the kind of schedule that they play. 9-3 is their floor. 12-0.
They're gonna lose to Navy. They're gonna lose to Navy in Baltimore.
No.
You're gonna have the whole. You're gonna have the entire brigade of midshipmen there at that game. Like probably. That would.
I genuinely think though, if Notre Dame loses, if Notre Dame ends up going like 8-4, your 2023 recruiting class is gonna fall apart. I genuinely believe so.
Everyone's gonna back.
Let me ask you this:
Everyone's gonna
we go
back out.
11-1. If we go 11-1, 10-2, do we keep Keon Keeley?
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
everybody around him saying, he said, well, okay, first of all, he said in an interview yesterday, he was asked about it, he said, well, people are saying you're going to flip to Alabama. He said, I'm not too worried about what other people are saying. All I know right now is I'm committed to Notre Dame. And that's all I can really say is that I'm committed to Notre Dame and I'm committed to Marcus Freeman, and I'm focusing on my senior year. And he's going to be at the Notre Dame Ohio State game. Yeah.
That sounds a little interesting. Like it's like a very like a political way,
a politically correct answer.
Yeah, very political answer by him. But
I
think realistically, I think he'll stay unless Alabama starts getting even more guys. Like they just landed that that offensive lineman McVay, which he was actually an Oregon guy. I'm so pissed about it. They just landed McVay at offensive line. Like they're getting a lot of dudes, and I don't know, it depends. I talked to you about this earlier, where I was like, if you're at Notre Dame or a team that isn't Alabama, you're gonna get that that recognition, especially at Notre Dame. Like if you look at a guy like JOK, right? He got a crap ton of recognition at Notre Dame, even though he was a smaller guy. He played really well, got a lot of recognition. Whereas if he would have went to Bama, he probably wouldn't have gotten that because they have guys like
he probably wouldn't have seen the field.
Pat Surtain. They have like a Pat Surtain. They have like Will Anderson. Like they have all these guys where it's like, and then plus on offense they have Bryce Young and they had Najee Harris then, and like all these guys where you just don't get the recognition. So I think Notre Dame would be smart if he stayed.
The key thing with him though is his official visit. So he's taking an official.
Okay, guys, we really need to get this.
That's really quick. He's taking an official visit to Ohio State week 1. He's going to be at the Ohio State Notre Dame game, and Ohio State is heavily trying to flip him as well. So
that'd be interesting.
If Ohio State wins and he flips that night,
that'd be crazy. Oh, dude, that'd be 2 L's in one night.
That'd be major 2 L's right there.
So Michigan, I have Michigan at number 4. It really all depends on their quarterback stuff. I think they have 2 starting college football Division I quarterbacks on their roster, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes throughout the year. And then number 3, I basically have the same as the coaches poll. So I have Georgia at number 3. I really wanted to put them at number 2, just because I've heard these things talk about how Georgia actually lost more from the year previous last year. So they lost more from the 2020 team than this year, if that makes any sense. And they still won the national title last season. So
impressive.
So they're a reload type of team. Losing the defensive coordinator hurts, obviously. But Kirby Smart is a really good defensive mind, so I think they'll be fine. And then number 2, Ohio State, and number 1, Bama. Self-explanatory. Not much you got to say about those 2 teams. They are just absolutely loaded. They're basically, like double A farm NFL teams. Basically, they're like
pretty much.
They're basically farm NFL teams at this point. They have so much NFL talent.
They should just switch places and just take over for the team that finishes with the worst record in the NFL every year.
I would be basically okay.
Alabama should just compete in the XFL next season.
I really do wish that the NFL and all American sports had included relegation. Because then that would really force teams to not suck.
Oh no! Don't get us into this conversation. It's gonna take another half an hour. Connor.
I know I would. I know. I'm just saying.
Stop now. Stop now.
Okay.
Next top 5.
Is it Ryan? Is it your turn for top 5?
Yes, it's my turn. So number 5, I hate to say it, but I'm gonna give them benefit of the doubt. Michigan.
Go blue, baby.
No blue. Anyway, I give him the benefit of the doubt. I think Cade McNamara is still. I'm not sold on him completely. I don't know. They lost a lot on defense, so I could move them down, but I'm not. I'm like I said, I'm just giving them kind of a benefit of the doubt after last season.
They did
Number
lose
four?
they did lose their defensive coordinator to the Ravens.
And they lost to Son Haskins, which I didn't realize
Hey,
until last night
but-
watching the Titans game.
Yeah, Haskins is gonna be a monster for us. He's gonna be so good. I'm so excited.
In
He's gonna be way better.
Years when
I don't know
in 3
why
years when
Julius
Derrick Henry's
Chestnut-
retired.
In 3 years, you're funny.
Oh, God,
I
let's
don't know
not
why
start
Julius Chestnut was taking starting reps over him. Julius freaking Chestnut was
Chestnut.
terrible.
that.
Julius Chestnut.
He is not.
Wait.
good.
No. That's from Sacred Heart. Julius Chestnut from Sacred
Yeah.
Heart.
And he's not
went to
a
he
good
went to
NFL.
Archbishop Spalding, which is a school right by like 10 minutes from my house that way.
He shouldn't be.
But-
He shouldn't be starting over Hassan Haskins in any.
No guy
any-
named Chestnut should be starting in an NFL game. Let's just say that.
except
Dude, he was-
except for the goat, the hot dog eating guy.
Joey Chestnut.
Joey Chestnut.
Yeah, Joey Chestnut. That guy's the goat. He could start on any team in the league right now today.
You put him on an NFL team right now as a quarterback, he becomes the next Kurt Warner. You might as well book it.
That's facts.
Joey, yeah. Joey Chestnut feels like the type of name that you would come up with for like
A fake
that you come
Madden
up-
player.
Yeah, like a fake Madden player, like a fake porn star name or something.
Joey Chestnut would be a good porn name, but that would be more of like a. Never mind. All right.
Never mind. W's just watching is like, what the fuck is up with these guys?
Let's continue.
Anyway, number 4, I got Utah. I'm higher on them than you guys are. I think the Utes are the Pac-12 champions this year, and I think they're a legitimate college football playoff contender. I really like their quarterback. I just think that they got a lot of talent. I just hope they can build off of it, and it's not like years past where they get hype after having a really good season and they kind of fall off the face of the earth. Number 3, Georgia. Until they're the national champions, so you can't really put them any lower than top 5 at least.
I wonder what the
Number
lowest
2?
defending national champ has ever started off in preseason. That's a good question to look up.
Yeah. This actually might surprise you guys, and I'm sure I might be the only one that has it this way. I got Alabama at 2, and I've got Ohio State ranked number 1 in the country. The only reason, and here's why, I have a feeling Ohio State could have the best offense in college football history this year.
Jackson Smith and Jigba.
I honestly think they could be better than what that Joe Burrow team was in 2019. I don't understand really who's going to be able to stop them. And I know I might be crazy from having anyone else but Bama at number 1, but I have Ohio State's honestly my preseason national champion pick. So give me the Buckeyes number 1.
Gotcha.
Makes sense.
I have no problem with that. Okay.
I just don't know if their running defense has to get, 10 times better than it was last year if they're going
The
to.
good thing is they got Oklahoma State's defensive coordinator. That's the good thing.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. That's what I was mentioning before. Sweet. So I got 5. I got Clemson. I think it's just I'm just not entirely sure how to feel about their quarterback situation. I don't believe enough in DJ to lead them, and I could see him finishing another 10-2, maybe even 9-3 if at absolute worst. I just don't think they're going to be contending, unfortunately, but just because it's Clemson, they're going to have to start off top 5 because that's just how it is, unfortunately. 4, I got Michigan. It will be a big loss not having Haskins and Mike McDonald, who was the defensive coordinator. He goes back to the Ravens. He was an assistant coach under the Ravens for a long time. Went to Michigan for 1 year, made him into a top 5 defense, and then immediately leaves and goes back to Baltimore. So really do enjoy seeing that. And now the Ravens will not be blitzing every single down and tiring themselves out because of that. So it's good to see that. 3, I have Ohio State. I mean, I do agree. I think CJ Stroud. It'll be interesting to see CJ Stroud versus Bryce Young, who's going to be the number 1 overall pick next year. It'll probably be those two will probably 1-2. It also depends on who is in those first 2 picks. If it's a team that doesn't need a quarterback, then we're gonna have a lot of intrigue, and that'll be kind of fun to watch. 2, I have Georgia. I feel like I would also put them at 1. I feel like you should just always be, if you're the national champion, defending national champion, you should just always start off ranked number 1. I think so, but I think they lost too much defensively to stick around. To repeat. And while Stetson Bennett was a great story, I think they also lost enough offensively that they're not going to be able to repeat either. And then 1 is Bama. Really, nothing needs to be explained there. So, what are your thoughts?
It's good. I mean, it's pretty close to ours. I think the biggest thing to take out of this, I think, is just that, this is Alabama and Ohio State's world, and we're just living in it.
That's just pretty much, and then that's pretty much how it's been for a long time. So.
And then Georgia's there too, and obviously coming off of last year. But I think a lot of their ranking is because they are defending champs, not because we think that they're actually going to be 2-time champs. I know there are some people at ESPN that think that they can repeat, and yeah, of course they could. I mean, Kirby Smart's a great coach, and they reload really well, but I don't see it. I really don't. Especially, I think Oregon is going to really shock the country and maybe not beat Georgia, but make it a lot closer game than what obviously the spread is. And
it could very easily be like the Ohio State Oregon game from last year.
It could be like that game. It could very easily be like when Oregon played Auburn, and Georgia just comes back at the end and gets the win or something like that. Like I think it's going to be a really close game, and it'll be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, I think that's going to be it, guys, for tonight. Hopefully the AP poll comes out sometime next week so we can talk about that during our next show. But so for El Mario, for Ryan, Kansas head coach voted Texas number 1 for Owl. I am your host, Connor, Funeral Wake Doherty. Sorry, I'm a little tired. And this has been the Week 0 podcast. We'll be back next week, guys, with some more fun content to talk about. And, we're getting closer and closer to college football. Can't freaking wait.
22 days away, boys. 22.
Oh, man.
Stoked.
Can't wait. So until then, guys, be safe and